Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be breaking down what just appears to be a massive and wild rabbit hole that has Kingdom 5, NOIR, Satoru, Peek, and Boozy, or McBoo. That's all in the mix. And there's kind of going to be multiple parts to this. We're going to touch on part 1 today and talk about what's actually happening here. Is there this shift in leadership? Are more R4s leaving? And then where is this going to go in the future? And maybe what's to come? As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up because it helps out a lot. Now, as I will typically talk about these things once we share them with you from an educational standpoint of what's the takeaways, what can we learn from them, and hopefully things that maybe alliances and kingdoms can avoid in the future. Aside from that, multiple people have been asking me this, and yes, I will finally be instituting or implementing it, which is going to be some kind of anonymous hot tip line. And so I'm gonna put a dedicated channel on my Discord, and it's gonna be for anything news related, regardless if it's drama or not. It could be something that is a positive change that's happening. Maybe a kingdom ended up bringing in a whole brand new alliance. Maybe there was an underdog story where they won. Maybe a kingdom is giving amazing appreciation to players and strong contributors from a KVK, or maybe on the other end, there's just drama llama time every single place we see. There's betrayals that are happening. People are saying one thing and then they do another thing, or you have people that are migrating out and just messaging everyone and taking a bunch of people with them, and whatever it may be, right? We're going to cover it. And this is something that I've really wanted to do for a very long time. So again, if you're interested in sharing any juicy tidbits, please feel free. There's going to be a link in the pinned comment description down below for my Discord server. And then again, there will be a dedicated channel that we'll be putting up there shortly because I already got the form done. With that in mind, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So let's show off NOIR real quick and how they look, because there obviously have been some changes. We'll be showing these off too as well a little bit later. But we kind of have a new board. We'll talk about that in a moment. We have some R4s that you can see here. Again, kind of a new temp R5, if this is permanent or not. And then let's get to some of the things that we have really been wanting to probably talk about, which is kind of what's going on right now. And I also want to show something new with Satoru because we didn't have an opportunity to share this screenshot last time. So just kind of want to do some due diligence here and make sure that there is recognition where it is due / needed and appropriate. So the first one was Satoru saying, I don't write long goodbye. And let me go up here top right. Maybe we'll do a little shrinking. So I don't write a long goodbye. Real life happened. I need to focus real life for a while. Now, this was sent on December 23rd from our understanding. Move forward with the current leadership team. It's been an honor to be your leader for multiple seasons. You can message me in Discord, not in game. I'm not selling my account, Satoru. All right, you got some reactions. This was the screenshot that was shared with me when I had talked about this previously on how I would have loved to seen Satoru say something a little bit more just because of the amount of time that he's been there for, right? Arguably the longest, if not up to the longest, amongst, at least compared to the previous or ex-R4 leadership team that has now been replaced from what we understand by a completely new leadership team, at least within the past few seasons. So he says, I'm sorry to leave NOIR before one more KVK here. I will leave this channel in a few hours after I finish apologizing and PM to those who came in this migration. It's been crazy fun with some of you from Season 1 and 1+. New leadership is better than I can be, so y'all will be fine. Don't need to panic. People come and go, including myself. I mean, it's pretty true. NOIR was and is strong because of you, not because of me. I actually think that's nice, but I don't think it's wrong to not identify what you have brought to the table as well. Thank you, Front Time. It's been an awesome journey. It's just a game at the end, so everyone has to focus on their own life. Wish you the best. Sad to see you go. Been a good leader. Been here for a few seasons now, and it's sad to see you go like this because of lots of things happening, but that's life, I guess. Wish you the best. Again, really nice, heartfelt messages. And then I just want to clarify, right, this is a screenshot from mine and Sato's DMs. It doesn't really show anything that I haven't mentioned before, but it's basically just I reached out on the 23rd. I said, hey, is this true or fake that you are quitting the game? And again, this isn't, I should have been clear here that you're quitting or you're taking time off because he never said he was quitting in here. And his response is appropriate. I'm not quitting. And then I said, okay, I'm glad I reached out to confirm. So it is just you stepping down as R5 and will no longer be a part of leadership team in NOIR. He says you will know in a few days. And again, we will most likely touch on this in a part 2 or later video as well because there's a lot. Now I want to get to a screenshot here from Peek. Now, this is from, again, what I've been told, right? Her Discord messaging this on the NOIR server. And it says, "Hey, everyone, I'm really sorry to let you know this so suddenly. I know I said I'd stay for another KVK or until everyone left, but I've reached my limit. For the sake of my mental health, I need to step away. The constant toxicity and hostility have made this game more hurtful than enjoyable, and it's no longer worth it for me. I'll be passing Discord ownership to Funk, who has been the backbone of NOIR through all the recent turbulence. After this, I'll uninstall the game and leave this space for good. Thank you for your kindness, support, and memories we've shared over the past 2 seasons. At the end of the day, it's just a game, and I hope you all continue to find joy in it. Wishing you all the best. Peek." Now, I guess my initial thoughts on this is, hey, this is kind of a nice goodbye, farewell message that you're hearing from an R4, or I guess a short amount of time, right? For depending on how long Peek was an R4 there, I imagine it was at least a few seasons. And you get to hear her share her side of how things have been going, how they have felt to her, and how it has appeared. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of rumors that have been going around. And so for me, I'm only going to just really focus on what I know the facts to be, which is at the moment, right, this was an R4 that came in. There were some disagreements and some reasons, things that have happened with this R4 from the old ex-R4 leadership team, screenshots that were shared with me, that, again, I haven't been given permission yet at the moment to share and talk about those, but maybe one day we will be able to. And it caused a level of discomfort, let's just say, and uncomfortability with some people of the R4, ex-R4 leadership team that then caused kind of this domino effect of one person and then a few others opted to leave. Now, whether it was all because of that for everyone involved, or if it was only be some part of that and then other reasons as well, that's what we know at the moment, at least what I have seen and what I know at the moment to be the case based on what has been provided to me. And so that isn't to say that everything is one person's fault or the other, but there was just things that had happened that had caused rifts, essentially, to start. And some of that you could say was on Satoru for the previous leadership, some of that being on Peek, and then for those parties involved. Now, again, because I'm not showing you anything, I will just simply say that the opportunity here for me is when you are an officer, when you're an R4, right, you are basically a team lead that's a part of a company, right, or a store. There has to be a level of communication and a level of respect for people that have been there longer than you have. And I'll give you a really good example of this, right? When you had the XR4 leadership team that was in NOIR, and they were there for multiple seasons, right? Peek relatively was someone new that's coming in. And so from what I had been told is that you ended up having things that were happening where Peek was being given either kind of carte blanche from Satoru or certain permissions or certain authority, and basically kind of almost acting like a lead R4. That's what some of the accounts were. And we showed this to you for some of the responses when we did that anonymous feedback from NOIR. So this isn't the first time that I'm saying this, where a couple people had came forward and just talked about things. Now, the challenge here is that you have to imagine, let's say you are working for a company and there's 10, let's say, team leads there. You are the newest team lead. And I'm just speaking universally, more generally here. You are most likely not going to go around day one and act like you are the lead team lead, right? Or you are the senior team lead, or you're going to go around kind of telling people, you know, what to do or instructing. You're probably going to ease your way in, right? You would most likely, at least I feel, because I've been in this situation before, you take a little bit more of a shadowing approach. You ask questions, you listen, you pay attention, and you do your minimum tasks that you have been instructed on until you start feeling more comfortable. You familiarize yourself with your environment and kind of the do's and don'ts. And you work your way up. to basically be at the same level. Now, again, technically you are, right? But I would imagine most people probably would take some kind of this soft approach instead of just coming out the gate and, already letting your peers, because that's really what the thing is, right? I can't tell you how many situations I've been in where I have seen officers act as though they are higher up the food chain than other officers, and how kind of impactful and almost sometimes negatively that this can be, when really at the day it's the officer team should all be working together. Of course, you're going to have people that have been there longer and people that haven't been there that long or are new to an officer team. But what we're really talking about is trying to establish a level of cohesion and stability within an officer team, where new officers that are coming in feel ingratiated, right? They feel comfortable to come in and to do their tasks, and then to learn how the team operates. So you can eventually kind of be there. I guess it's more on a kind of respect level, so to speak, maybe more of an integrity kind of stability level, more so than it is, oh, well, you just have this new title and now you're going to kind of go around and immediately day one, I don't want to say bossing other officers around, but basically asking them things or maybe telling them to do certain things. And again, these are situations I have seen happen in a number of alliances and even some of the projects that I've ran and I've been in, and it can be a slippery slope. So that's where I will leave that, right? Just kind of talking about that more universally and generally. Now, let's get to what I think is probably the next big mention here, which is going to be an announcement that was posted. Let me see if this is easier for me to go over here on this side. Possibly. Yeah, there we go. So this was mentioned on the Discord a couple days ago, and this clearly states on the NOIR Discord, this states, the time has come to set our game plan for NOIR moving forward. And step 1 is to decide who will lead us into an exciting new G2 KVK. Our current ward lead, McBoo, which from my understanding, Boo's been there 2 seasons now, I think he came in last season on the Echo, during the Echo KVK. That's what I've been told. Maybe it's been more, but I was told he migrated in at the beginning of last season. Our current war lead, McBoo, has stepped up to be the next R5 of NOIR. I mean, listen, man, for whatever you feel about NOIR, I mean, they are at this point a household name until they're not. And it's the same similar thing like when you heard about TFS, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, the downfall of TFS. But look, man, TFS is doing a rebuild and they're coming back up. I think when I last looked, they were like 11, 12 bill or something like that on their alliance going in to this next KVK. And so, and again, that who knows how many more people that they've brought in. But TFS is a household name and they're on their way back up. And so you can make the argument that being the R5 of this alliance, which is almost kind of like a franchise, if you will, right? It does carry some cachet. And so effective immediately, bringing with him 20 years of guild leadership experience to keep NOIR competitive and thriving. And we'll talk about this in a moment. The decision was made with the full support of leadership as well as many of our longtime NOIR top fighting groups, so please join us in welcoming our new R5. Note, he is in the process of bringing his new account to NOIR. So this is, now, given Buu hasn't been there that long in the alliance, I imagine that because the leadership team, for the most part, is pretty new, there probably wasn't a lot. I mean, most of the time, the likelihood of you having a player that is not an existing R4 officer step up to be the R5 is unlikely. It can happen, but unlikely in the sense that you would most likely look at the stepping stone of going member, contributing member, officer, and then lead, meaning that the officer is basically like an R5 in training. So it's more likely, there's a higher percentage chance that you're going to promote an existing officer into a leadership position rather than you would a member. So Buu gets the promo, but then you have to think about, okay, well, if there's not a lot of leadership there that has been in NOIR a couple seasons, I guess you kind of have to go off of like, what are those external factors? So how much experience is there, right? What is Buu bringing with him from Kingdom Builders, other games that he's played, right? What has he been able to do? Positions that he's had in other alliances as an officer, tasks, etc. Those are things that I think probably they would have to look at next, and based on that, if they did their due diligence, right, ended up determining this to be the case, and therefore promoting Buu. The decision, right, and this is important, the full support of leadership, meaning that it was either unanimous or there was a majority at that point. And I think that's really important that they stated here. And I really like that they included that in this message, because to me, it feels like that should, if anything, allow for a level of ease for members reading it, that's saying, look, everyone voted here and everyone is in full support. It also shows and does boost some good favor here, because it means that everyone a part of the alliance now knows that all the R4s are in support of Buu. So it's not just about that they either unanimously or the majority of them voted Buu to be it. They're also making this statement as a way of saying he has our support, and it's not something that, we were indecisive about, or if it was 50-50, or we did a vote and it was, 4-5, you know what I mean? Something like that, where sometimes if you were to publicize something like that, or if you said anything that maybe wasn't this, you could kind of you kind of sow the seeds of dissent, not deceit, but I guess you're kind of planting seeds that just may not be positive in that case. Now let's continue. In addition to keeping Row a top priority, we want to hear from our members on what you value for the Alliance in order to best drive decisions. So please fill out the quick survey below. This, I think, is a good idea. Now, we used to do things like this in my projects where we would do anonymous kingdom-wide feedback forms. So, for example, when I was doing projects in Rock, when I did projects in Infinity Kingdom, in CoD, and some of the projects where I was there in my position, let's just state that, long enough, after a period of stabilization occurred in the beginning stages, we would eventually do a kingdom-wide anonymous feedback form. Now, alliances would do this as well, but we always like to do this from a kingdom perspective because we would also take things from the form and then talk about that during our kingdom-wide town hall meetings. But it also allowed for us to get a nice anonymous gauge on a number of different topics on how the players in that server felt about how things were going, the management, the leadership team, and anything they felt that they would like for us to address or wanted to bring up. So this is, I think, a good idea. Our first town hall meeting in this new era of NOIR will be this Friday at 15 UTC. Now, I don't know if that was last Friday. Is it 2 days ago Friday or 9 days ago? I believe it was probably 2 days ago based on this, but that's just my guess. Buu will lead and share detailed plans regarding KVK, leadership, row, and more. And listen, I am all for town halls. Most of you that watch my content most likely know you've heard me talk about this very often. If your alliance and or kingdom is not doing, at minimum, kingdom-wide and alliance town halls, again, even though you can break them up and run them whenever you want, I just don't think you're really doing it right. I think there's a lot of opportunity to get increased and continued activity and engagement from doing town halls, because it takes everything from we're just texting to, now we can hear people speak, and we're starting to associate and pair a voice to a name or a name to a voice. And it really just, I feel, allows for a higher level or a more gracious level of familiarity that you can start to get from your leadership team, right? It's not they're just kind of always they're always a hand's distance away. And so arm's length, I should say. So this, I think, is always a great thing. There's just a lot that you can really get out of town halls. Lastly, it's important everyone attends, so please plan to be there. If you have any questions before the meeting, please reach out to Buu or any R4s in Discord. Hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season. See you Friday. Again, I think this is probably, sure, is it maybe kind of short and to the point? Could there maybe have been a little bit more? Of course. But I do think that it covered everything it really needed to cover, along with giving people something to look forward to, right, which is that town hall. Now, let's get to the end game that we're seeing now, which, again, I want to point out, this is absolutely hilarious. And it's hilarious to me in the best ways, because to me, it feels like NOIR is owning it, right? Owning it in the sense of okay, this is what people are talking about. We know this has been rumored or has been stated to be a thing, regardless if it's absolutely true or it's being not rumored, but if it's being, I don't want to say escalated, and I don't want to say dramatized, but if it's being maybe a smoke screen or something, right? If it's being inflated, we'll say that. But this, when I read this, I thought to myself, okay, new and better leadership, same relentless Ensemble Fighters, KVK 7-1, Row 39-1, E-Grill 0-1. It's just, it's good, man. Like, it's funny. And it's funny in a good way, like in an acknowledging good way, I feel. So yeah, that is where we're at right now. Who knows what else is going on there? I will leave you with this. There is another developing story that I most likely will be covering. And some people have already mentioned it to me. I've already, I was aware of it, but not for some of the details that are now being shared with me about Satoru and apparently a move or a migration that happened. And so we're going to be covering that in another video because there's still some incoming details that I'm getting. That I will say this, it will probably shock and surprise many of you, and maybe not so many of you, but I imagine the details probably will. And so, like I said, that is what you can maybe expect for us in part 2 as we kind of continue covering this rabbit hole. And then if there's any new rabbit holes that end up being dug and some dirt thrown my way, or anything news related. For now, you guys can just shoot me a DM. And again, as I mentioned, if you do want to be notified when that anonymous hot tip line goes live, I'll have a dedicated channel on my Discord in the Call of Dragons category. Link to the Discords in the pinned comment description down below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are here on the entire situation. What do you think about R4s that are getting in? If you're a new R4, the relationship there, and maybe how have you gone about it, right? When you're kind of the new kid on the block stepping into an R4 leadership team, what do you think about maybe the right and wrong ways to go about leaving as an R5? And then lastly, what do you think about Buu stepping up, the announcement message, running the town hall? Do you think that was handled well? Could it have been handled differently? Let us know in the comments down below. I always enjoy a good read. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.